Hey there, Possum Rob here. This is kind of a bonus show because it ain't really about watching stuff, but I came across this thing and I just had to do a show about it. We talk about science fiction on this show for the most part, and I've been hearing all about this AI-generated content with that thing that makes the pictures. Not bad. But this being a science fiction-focused show, I wanted to see how one of these robots could do writing an episode of Watchin Stuff. And the one I'm using for this is called InfoKit, and I got a link down there in the description if you want to check it out. I didn't want to tax the little guy too much, so I just put in the prompt, Star Trek the original series is the best show ever, and let her rip. What I got back was, shall we say, unique. So, you ready for this? Alright, here we go. Considering the cult of Trekkies and the billions of dollars, some say trillions, of merchandising sold around a franchise, you'd think Trekkies wouldn't be so willing to watch an expensive television show with show characters that could actually survive time and space. Much like Marvel fans may want to see their superheroes stomping around in black and white again, Trekkies want to see Gene Roddenberry's vision of a shiny chrome and leather universe thriving on a new television network. But those of us who watched and loved Star Trek The Next Generation, and those of us who just love to look at pretty pictures, believe that the best way to honor Star Trek's history is not to cover it up with time travel technobabble or time traveling moral dilemmas, but by watching it in all its glory. Sure, there were moments in The Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space Nine that we absolutely hated, and that we wished were never made. Even the bit where Tasha Yar gets stranded in space during an attack on the Federation planet. But we also love the humor, or the slapstick in those episodes, and we love the relationship between Jean-Luc Picard and LaForge, and we love the decisions that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy made on the Enterprise. Sure, we wish Deep Space Nine had been a little less Star Trek and a little more The Avengers, but that's okay, because that is the nature of television. If you want to avoid certain subjects or you want to avoid certain characters, for example, a character that is universally hated, you have to let go of some things and find a show you can enjoy. Deep Space Nine might have been forced to change its storylines, characters, and overall vision of space, but Trekkies were always going to give the series a chance because we knew that in some ways it was always better than the other shows. And now that Star Trek The Voyage Begins has been made available on DVD, we're going to get the chance to dig deeper and see if we can find some more precious gems of Star Trek television. If you think of the television show as the Star Trek equivalent of the Marvel movie franchise, the first 4 seasons are best known for some pretty great action-packed episodes. But in the final season, Season 6 of The Next Generation, and in some of the first 5 episodes of the final season of Deep Space Nine, the series started to move away from its signature theme, being out of space, the adventures in space. In particular, the premiere episode of Star Trek The Voyage Begins shows an important shift in the fabric of the Star Trek universe when Starfleet comes to an agreement with one of the biggest spacefaring factions of the Milky Way galaxy, the Traitor Legions. Star Trek The Voyage Begins was the first episode to show the enormous extent of the exploration of space that would be accomplished by Starfleet after the signing of the Treaty of Tannhauser. It showed the journeys that we saw in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Errand of Mercy, with the voyage of a starship full of colonists and Vulcans, with only a quick cameo from the distant village of Dagonians that had recently made contact with Starfleet. In that episode, Starfleet stopped the Klingon invasion of the alien planet because of the deep knowledge Starfleet had gained of the Empire. We saw that the Starship Enterprise was a highly capable vessel capable of traveling vast distances, and that Starfleet had a planet-destroying weapon that could be used to destroy entire planets. Star Trek The Voyage Begins would end with a mission that was sent to scout out the potential location of a new Federation colony in the Traitor Legions, and some of the most incredible special effects we would see in the history of the Star Trek television series. But now we have come to a time where we can see those kinds of achievements with our own eyes, and it doesn't matter if that mission is now limited to piloting a fighter ship, or watching Kirk finally meet an old enemy in the setting of an old holodeck that has now been turned into a museum, with little chance that Kirk is going to reveal himself to the exhibits in a few more episodes. we still got to see this once familiar space, this birthplace of planets and starships, where the Federation and its allies forged its future and challenged the forces of evil to take space and time back for themselves. Every single Star Trek television show has its moments where the action is just a little too big for the television budget. And it's very easy for a television series to become overblown and far-fetched in some cases. But we can sit back and feel happy that the Star Trek universe isn't just a place to travel to or find exciting adventures in. It's a really exciting time to live in a world where Star Trek has an environment of its own that holds memories, stories, and characters that are going to stand the test of time for years to come. You know, I have to say, all in all, it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. It's almost a little scary that it made up a whole new show, Star Trek The Voyage Begins, there. And it is something that this thing made up. Believe me, I Googled the heck out of that, and all I came up with was a commemorative plate with the cast of Voyager on it. So I'm looking forward to seeing this show, and following the Federation's desperate battle against the traitor legions, whoever the heck they are. As long as the show's a little less Star Trek and a little more of the Avengers. Alright, so this has been Possum Rob goofing around with robots with you. Come back later and we'll watch stuff, you'll love it. The last episode kind of blew up more than I expected, until it suddenly got yanked into copyright jail for a couple of days. But it's back now, so check it out up there if you ain't seen it already. And if you like this weird foray into AI stuff, like that thumbs up button down there so I know you dug it. I'll probably take care of the script writing from now on, but it's fun to take a little side trip like this and do something a little different. Regular episode is still coming soon, so hit that bell so you get a notification when it drops. And until next time, remember, possum friends are awesome friends, even Dagonian possums from the traitor legions. Take it easy, alright? Later.